Portugal.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and the podcast. How are you this morning? Do let us know in the chat if you will, and send any pictures, images, videos to 913-590-303. Let's start right there, shall we, and go to La Rochelle this morning, where Coach Turner is. Thank you very much. La Rochelle Harbour, in fact. Beautiful place and a slight sadness I'm projecting onto Coach Turner, who's making his way back to the UK via La Rochelle. I think it's the last day in France, heading home today after an amazing trip here in Portugal. So let's pop into La Rochelle Harbour. We go all over the world here on the Good Morning Portugal show. And talking about going all over the world, a message from Deagle this morning to Americans who have a special relationship with Ireland, obviously. He wants to make something clear to you. We'll come back to that in just a moment. We'll also be going to Óbidos, where I was a couple of days ago, where it was all kicking off on the ramparts. Lovely sounds of the harbour there, La Rochelle. Thank you so much, Coach Turner, for keeping abreast of your travels on your way back to Blighty. And I'm sure I'll make sure that we've got all the videos on our YouTube channel. Your excellent videos that you've made whilst you've been driving around in France, Spain, and Portugal, of course. And it was great to see you here. Yes, Sunday afternoon up at Óbidos Castle, which is amazing. You can have a little look through. Actually, talking of medieval things, did you catch this morning? Have a quick look at this, if you will, on the screen, if you can. On a scale of medieval horse, how are you feeling today? I'm thinking maybe I don't know. I think I feel like a 5, possibly, or maybe a 5 veering towards an 8, possibly with a touch of 3. But what was going on with horses in those times? Man's best friend, I suspect, before dogs took over back in those days. Yes, staying with the medieval theme and looking through an arrow slit. Is that what that is at Óbidos Castle? That's a picture I took on Sunday. What an amazing place it is. A great place to host a gaming festival, which was there last weekend. And I realized as I was making my way over there with the whole family this time, that I still hadn't edited the video together from last year. This happens. I think I've so more video to be edited than I've actually edited in recent times. But there you go. I'm sure whatever. Thanks, Pete. I'm sure we'll get there in the end. And it's a bit like when you forget to what you're trying to think to say, isn't it? And if it's important, it will come back to me. If it's really that important, an edit will be made in the end. Great fun taking the footage and being in all these lovely places here in Portugal, including the problem with the pictures I'm going to show you now of the Transformers is that you can't see them moving. It looks like I'm standing under a statue possibly of these Transformers, but these had men in them on stilts. They were fantastic. This fella came behind me while I was just having a coffee there in the food court of the gaming festival. Managed to play Space Invaders and a pinball machine. That's about my limit when it comes to gaming. And then his comrade came and started massaging my shoulders as well, which was hilarious. Should have videoed it, not taken a still. But these were very impressive, as was the fight on the ramparts of the Óbidos Castle. Oh, incidentally, Mamabear joining us at 9, talking about getting in your flow. And I want her to remind us, and I've got to get this right. I made a big mess of trying to describe the healing method. I think it's a Hawaiian healing method, which I inadvertently called Pupupono or something like that. But it's Ho'oponopono. I want her to revisit that with us, as well as telling us about her brand of finding your flow. Of course, she's just launched here in Portugal, and anything to do with life, death, and dying, grief, and those sorts of things that you'll find on the Care and Share group on Share and Care Portugal on the Facebook. You'll be able to quiz M on Mamabear McGowan. Oh my goodness, Mamabear McGowan this morning when she joins me at 9 o'clock. That's if I haven't gone off to have a lie down this morning. My goodness, come on, get a grip, Carl. Just as this transformer was getting a grip on me on Sunday. Excellent fun over there. Yes, and it kicked off on the ramparts as well. Check this out. Now, hold on a minute. Let me just get that out of the way. If that was a movie, the director would be shouting "cut," wouldn't they? It's a bit like the movie scene that was set in the olden days, and a camper van drives past in the background. We have a jet flying over on that little bit of video there. We just play a little bit more for you so you can see that. This is very good. This is a group of actors cosplaying and role-playing and actually having scraps in the middle of the food court. It was very good. Lara Croft was fighting somebody from Mortal Kombat, I think. I didn't really understand the characters apart from Lara Croft for some reason. But they were having this fight up on the castle wall, which was fantastic. But the director would have been, cut! Get that jet out the Yeah, it'd have to be first positions, please, wouldn't it? Right, who's in this morning? M's getting ready to join us at 9, about 20 minutes time. Deagle was in. Bon dia, Carl and Gumpers. Normal services resumed. It rained half an inch in 18 hours over in Belfast, but it's very warm, 11 degrees overnight. Should be mid-teens today. I live in a portal, says Deagle, between Dublin and New York. A suspended time difference meant Irish folk drunk through inappropriate things, while Americans asking, do you know this or that person? Sorry, Americans, we live miles away from where your great-great-great-grandmother's parents lived. That field is now a motorway. I know Ireland is small, but we really don't know everyone on the island. Just in case you're about to ask Deagle if he knows your grandma or your grandma's family from Ireland. Nice one, Deagle. Lots of love to you today, mate. Bon dia, Deagle, Carl and Gumpers from the Coach Turner, whose pictures we've seen last full day of our trip. There you go. And about 6 hours of driving ahead. La Rochelle is a delight, particularly the older parts away from the crowds. 'Twas ever thus, right? We must come back. God squad tip of the day then. Another sitting exercise. Put your arms out in front of yourself. Let's try this, shall we, this morning? And slowly twist round as far as you can go. Ah! Back the other way. Ah! And it's okay to make those noises like a tennis player. Ooh, that's a good stretch. There you go. You're very welcome. So twist the other way. Repeat 20 times or so. I don't have time to do the other 19, but carry on doing those at home if you're tuned in. Try to keep your backside cheeks on the chair rather than letting one off. No, hold on a minute. Try to keep your backside cheeks on the chair rather than letting one lift off. Letting one lift off, is that a euphemism, or is that how you, I guess that's the marker, isn't it? As soon as your buttock raises from the chair you find yourself on, that is your limit. Because goodness knows what might happen if you go too far with that. The exercise, nurse! The exercise will work your core muscles and keep you flexible. Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Coach Turner. Do try this at home. Probably the best place, right? You don't want to be too far away from home. in the worst case scenario of that particular exercise. Excellent job, Coach Turner. Thank you very much indeed. Bon dia Gumpers from James, who this week, of course, is Slug says, slow down, you move too fast. Got to make the morning last. I'm feeling groovy. Comment va, just how are things? Mindful moment. Mindfulness is like taking your brain for a virtual walk. Like our bodies, our minds need time to recover. Oh, I see. It's like having your mind going out in the forest. Like our bodies, our minds need time to recover after a difficult workout. It is a way to walk it off, catch your breath, settle your muscles. You see, we've done it for your buttocks. Now we're doing it for your brain. Notice what you see, smell, feel, and hear, especially if you've been doing Coach Turner's exercise. Be in the moment without judgment. No judgment here. Be in the moment as you gain insight and nurture yourself. Even a few seconds or minutes is enough. That's right, because it's an eternity, isn't it? Now is an eternity. Don't overthink. It isn't the formal practice of meditation, and you don't need sneakers. That's from Laurie Manny Lentini, another mindful speaker who until now most of us had not heard of. Thank you very much for that. And a mindful dad joke then. I shall not make a list while meditating. Yes, definitely. That can occur, can it not? Oh! First on the list, must not make a list. Right. We have mindful memes as well from James, do we not? I think we do somewhere. Oh, so you saw my medieval horses and you chose which one you were out of the 9 this morning. Let me just take that comment off so you can do a little bit more of that. Let me just bring James's memes to the screen, and also more Aurora Borealis pictures coming in, Northern Lights. This was a cracker, I thought. Although I think Chevron Robinson may have done a little bit of post-production on that one. If you didn't, it's a great idea, isn't it? If you didn't get to see that, take a picture of it from the bottom of your garden and then just draw your own on the top there. This is the meme from James. Before I forget, I try to say mucho when I'm around my Hispanic friends. It means a lot to them. Thank you very much. And check this out for a moment, if you will. That moment you realize 1980 and 2024 are as far apart as 1936 and 1980. That's terrifying, isn't it? But it's okay. What can you do about it? What can you do about it? It's only time. It's only time. So there you go. Thank you very much, James, for that little collection there. And while we're looking at images, just to let you know that the next immersive experience with a test of your palate at the Storytellers, 13 at the table, is this will be the DSF winery. And I can't read that, I'm afraid to say. But this will be a it's not because I can't read it because it's inappropriate. I just can't see it big enough on the screen. Let me see if I blow this up a little bit. How do I do that? Yeah, okay. I may not come back after this. Let's try that. Oh, no, that's okay. I still can't read that scripty writing. But guest producer, the private collection of DSF. And we've got... I know who it is now. Domingos Fonseca is coming to San Martino de Porto. He looks like quite the character and the winemaker, doesn't he? The guest producer on the 7th of June at 7 o'clock. That will be a total Epicurean evening, which is what goes on at these events at the Storytellers in San Martino de Porto. And while we're talking about San Martino de Porto and the Storytellers, Sarah Davey will be joining us for the 4th Wednesday gathering. Our 4th Wednesday lunch will be a week tomorrow. That comes around so quickly, doesn't it? So Sarah will be in town if you'd like to have lunch with Sarah at the Storytellers. Very posh, very special, and a lot of fun, having a special lunch made by Marco and served by the team at the Storytellers on Wednesday, the 22nd of May. See you there in the company of Spartan FX's Sarah Davey, who now lives in Portugal, everyone. Amazing, isn't it? She heard so much over the last couple of years about the joys of moving to Portugal. She was influenced to do exactly that herself. Okay. Oh, and another meme while we're there. Did you ever wake up, kiss the person sleeping beside you, and feel glad that you're alive? I just did, and apparently will not be allowed on this airline ever again. That's very good, isn't it? Excellent stuff. Let's go back to more of your comments this morning. Oh, birthday boy is here this morning as well. Where did we get to in the comments? Let me just get that off the screen there. And yes, hello, there you are. Where did we get to? Metal Slug. Yes, we were talking about that yesterday. That was one of the games, wasn't it, at the gaming fair? Jackie's in. Good morning to you, Jackie. How are you doing? Thank you very much, Jackie, for welcoming everybody over on the Good Morning Portugal group as well. Very kind of you to do that. To make the sunshine even brighter, smash the like button. Yes, scientifically proven fact. If you smash the like button, it makes the sun come out. Let's try that, shall we? Bon dia, James, and Dougal, who's being called Dougal there this morning. A very lovely bon dia to you, Carl, and thanks for it's my pleasure. What have I done now? 4 has a delightful comb over, quite like yourself. I'm sure you will say nay, though, Carl. Hold on a minute. Let's have a look at number 4's. Pete's had a good study. Yes, I mean, the horse's mane does lend itself very well to the comb over style that you are alluding to scurrilously, Mr. Bleach. Right. Who doesn't like nope, can't read that. Always good to see you. I'm not sure about that. Doing a bit of trans. Doing a bit of trans. What does that mean? Is the pilot of that transformer a banana slug metal strike? I don't know what I didn't get to speak. Oh, we did actually. The magic of show business was ruined as me and my eldest walked past the tent to see the Transformers getting changed out of their stilted costumes and back into civvies. They should do that a long way from the public, shouldn't they? So the magic isn't ruined like that. Christine, fly on the forehead. And where's my electric tennis racket? This could be good fun. I'm going to have to use my bare hour ruler instead. Ready? Although it's got holes in it. Wouldn't that be a stroke of luck if the fly got, I was going to say twatted. You can't say things like that. Good morning, everyone. Christina C. Good morning to you. Thank you for being here. And birthday boy, to Paul Richards, from whom we have a delightful picture as well. Thank you very much for sharing this. Now, some of you who've been to San Martino de Porto and a little wander through the Smuggler's Cove, the tunnel, no euphemism there. That's looking with the Atlantic to your back and into the bay there, and a beautiful sky. Some people thought, was that an early dawn? Well, yeah, it must have been, mustn't it? Thank you very much. Anyway, whatever time of day it was, it's got to be, isn't it? Because the sunset will be the other way around. Thank you so much. Or artistic license, as somebody pointed out when I shared it on the San Martino de Porto Grapevine group on WhatsApp. And thank you. And a very good day to you. Bon dia to you and a very happy birthday. Many happy returns to you, Paul. And thank you for popping into the area and taking such a lovely image and sharing such a lovely image with us. Wonderful. Okay, who else is here in anticipation of Mamabear McGowan joining us? Bon dia, Gumper Nation. Here for a good time, not a long time this morning. Busy boy. Well done, mate. And bon dia, Michael. Did I miss Michael? Oh, I did. Bon dia, everyone, from Michael as well. And Michael Barton, that is in Miranda de Corvo. And I just love the lack of health and safety. You have to love Portugal. Yes, those guys, I doubt if they did a risk assessment up there. And they were chucking each other around on about sort of 2 or 3 feet of cobbly, elevated structure way above the crowd who were whooping and cheering and enjoying it. Bye, Randy. No, just what you mean. I should be on the tractor like yesterday, but my bottom, I'm going to say, rather than what you've put on the screen there, Pete, is thanking me for being lazy. Now, we had a mention of procrastination yesterday. I think it was Tig, wasn't it? I said, do you want to join us, Tig, for the rest of the show? Yeah, I do. I've got things to do, but I'd much rather sit here and chat with you lot. And I think it looks like Pete's doing the same. He should be on a tractor, but he's procrastinating. This is something Mamabear McGowan addresses, procrastination. I've got something to say about procrastination as well, because I think it's a little bit misrepresented, but we shall talk more about that with Mamabear in a little while. And, tractor rider, I got a brand new combine harvester. So have you got a combine, Pete, as well, on your land over there? Solar Life, Portugal, strong in the arm, thick in the head. That's so unkind. Is that a Dorset saying as well as a Devon saying there by Randy? Bon dia, Alegria Gumpers from T-Duck. Good morning to you, T-Duck. Thank you for being here this morning. And by Randy, I love my little tractor, but boy, is it scary 260 kilometers per hour in the Tesla is a breeze. Takes -5 seconds to get to Fundao for Pete in the Tesla, and 25 kilometers per hour on on the tractor is squeaky bum time. Who doesn't like a bit of squeaky bum time first thing in the morning? I don't. Bon dia, everyone. From Joan has joined us again. So tell us more about yourself, Joan. It's lovely to see you here. You've been with us a few times just recently. Where are you joining us from? And is there anything we can help you with here in Portugal? The news headlines, after I've had a chat with Em this morning, some of the news headlines I want to take a look at might include there's this convoy heading over to Geneva. That is the road to Geneva. I don't quite know how to put it. What do they call themselves? It's a convoy anyway. Say no to the WHO. That's been sent to me. The road to Geneva, People's Convoy, starting on the 30th of May and ending up in Geneva on the 1st of June. We are the change. We are people of the world no longer abide by the tyrannical rule of unelected global officials and their vision of the future. We break free from their chains. It is time to gather to reclaim our cultural traditions, history, and liberties. We are sovereign beings moving forward together in love, unity, and peace. Well, who doesn't love a bit of love, unity, and peace at any time of the day? And more about that a little bit later on, as well as some interesting headlines over on the Portugal News this morning. More visa requirements being brought in. We should take a look at that, should we not? And the new housing measures, because I know that Stephen, who joined us yesterday, has something to add to that as well. And there was some concern about these new fees. Did you know that IMA, I was talking to what's her name? Gilda. Yeah, that's right. She won't thank me for calling her old what's her name, will she? She's called me a lot worse, though, by the way. IMA charging €400 to speed up residency applications. Now, when people were receiving the request for €400, people, Gilda was telling me, thought it was a scam, and it does sound a lot like it. Immigrants angry about the unfair IMA fee. So we'll return and perhaps talk about that as well. Maybe the Portuguese supercar that is being revealed soon as well. Quite the incredible vehicle. So we'll have a look at some of those news headlines. Anything that's caught your eye recently in the Portuguese news or culture, let me know, and we'll take a look at it as well. Whilst I've been talking, Antonio F has joined us, one of the great contributors over at the Portugal Club. Thank you so much, Antonio F. Bon dia a todos, she says. And I was going to join Procrastinators Anonymous, but I haven't got round to it yet. Well, hey! Big Tony, hope you have been relieved of all your blockages. His constipado, I think, is being referred to there. Yeah, I hope you're feeling better now with that bit of congestion you had that you were reporting on last week, Antonio. Ashmal Yorish, I hope you're back to Cinco Estrelas this morning. I went in a mate's limited edition Tesla back in Blighty, says Bag Andy, scared the bejesus out of me. It was like a rocket launcher. He probably used the ludicrous mode. Is there a ludicrous mode on that as well? I've heard reports of people getting in. It may be, it may not be with Pete, which shall not say, who get out of the car and they can write with their left hand, having been driven by Pete in the Tesla. Allegedly, possibly. I don't know if it was actually Pete. And thank you, says Joan. I'm in Lisbon for the time being. Been here for 2 months. Still on scouting tours to find a more permanent residence. My IMA meeting is at the end of the month. Well, thank you for joining us, Joan. And if there is anything we can do to help, do let me know. Slightly less likely to leave you as a human blancmange when it gets tipped by a tree stump. That's I think that's the tractor and not the Tesla. Do you have a sticker on your tractor or respectively on your Tesla and tractor? My other car is a tractor, or my other vehicle is a Tesla on your tractor there, Pete? And all blockages, I think we'll be glad to hear from Antonio F, are unblocked. Thank you very much. No need to send any documentary evidence to 913-590-303. Some confusion there. Constipado means congestion of the upper pipework of the human here in Portugal. Unless that's what Antonio... I'm not going to probe any further, quite frankly, but let's just go with the fact that he might have had a little bit of a cold. But it sounds like he's better now. Let's bring her on a bit early because she's ready. She's giggling behind the scenes. And she's going to join us now to talk about, let's not procrastinate. Let's find out about procrastinations with Mamabear McGowan and see what she's been up to since we last saw her. So nice big round of applause Here she is. Good morning to you. How are you? Live from Creative Roots this morning, Em. How are you?
Good morning. Really well, thank you, Carl. Yeah. Good morning.
It would look like it. You had a few developments I've seen reported on the Facebook there.
Aye. As I clicked onto GMP this morning, I saw a rather beautiful picture of a castle.
Yes.
And that is exactly what's happening here. We are building a castle.
Wow. Right, okay. You know it's quite an undertaking to build a castle, don't you?
It is, but Mark is the person for the job. So Mark is on with building a castle, and I shall update you with pictures accordingly.
Okay, well that's great. And so we're talking architecturally and sort of psychologically as well. Is it going to be a different structure?
We're having a white castle, so Creative Roots, the building you'll come to visit, is going to be a white castle. So at the moment it's in development, and once the white castle is finished, you'll be able to come and sit in the white castle in Castelo Branco, you know, the white castle, for therapy and things like that. So that will be quite a cute little on the landscape here.
A feature no less. Okay, so you can be king of all you, or queen of all you survey in this new white castle, this Castelo Branco, where Em is, and that'll be inner and outer sovereignty, I'm guessing, as well.
Absolutely, we're helping bring people to find their own. I mean, that's what sovereignty is about. You know, it's not about it's not about serving. Well, it is about serving each other, but it's not that hierarchy. It's allowing everyone to have their own autonomy within that system, so we can all be honouring our own truth whilst also enabling and empowering each other to be their best selves, you know, to really find their flow.
Yes, and of course, this is the name of your new course, Finding Your Flow, which we'll talk more about this morning, and maybe give people a few tips if they're feeling a bit stuck at the moment, and overcoming procrastination. But before we do, we've always talked every month to give people the chance to talk about death and dying, going where few others dare to tread, and we call it the Departure Lounge. Erica knows that, and she's mentioned this morning, here's something death-related. SNS offers a free advanced directive option that is embedded directly into a person's SNS account. What does that mean? Is that your end-of-life wishes for your body? Is that what that means?
No, an advanced directive. You know, every time I talk about a living will,
yes,
that's an advanced directive.
Well, that's very progressive then. So it looks like the Portuguese SNS, the health system here, you can actually upload those instructions to your account in the Portuguese system. Does that ring any bells for you? Have you seen that before?
On Share and Care, there should be a link in one of the pinned posts that enables you to do your Portuguese advanced directive or living will, and that is what you'd be able to upload.
Right. Okay. And you may well have told me about that before, and it may have slipped my mind. But the
word advanced directive is exactly the same as a living will.
Okay. And does this have to be ratified or overseen by some sort of legal person, or is the very fact of you uploading it yourself seen as sufficient?
Whenever we look at everything in Portugal, it really helps to get a notary on side. Everything, or make sure you've got a power of attorney, and make sure you've got things legalized, because whatever happens, whenever something does happen, as it does happen, life happens, we know that. If you have someone on side who can deal with things on your behalf, if you can't, you're covered, which is why I recommend going to see someone like Christina and the team, shared last time, because the importance is this is how we get things sorted, so that while we're alive, if we lose the capacity to think for ourselves, or if through illness or disease, you know, like dementia, things like that, we want to make sure we've got our stuff sorted out now, so that our wishes are still taken care of when the time comes, if the time comes. And rather than take a chance and say, oh, it'll be all right, you know, we just don't know. You might have a motorcycle accident or something. I mean, let's hope not. But say if you have an accident or something, and or a head injury, falling off a ladder, or, you know, and then you've not got the same mental capacity. Strokes, they can cause the same issues, where you can't really think and communicate properly. And these things are, you know, unfortunately more common than we realise. So by taking time now, while you're capable, while we have the capacity to get our shit in order, we're enabling not only to meet our own needs when the time comes, but we're also taking that pressure off our family and our relatives. We're taking the pressure off, because they won't have to make the decisions, because they've been made for them.
Yes, yeah, which I guess is quite an onerous responsibility to find yourself in, depending, of course, on the quality of the relationship.
Incredibly difficult for people to be in that position, because they're like, oh, you know, and then people come from their own heart, and they're trying to do what's best, but from their own perspective. So the best way you can take care of you is by taking responsibility for what you can control and putting things into effect straight away. You know, it's all about responsibility, with procrastination, with finding your flow with everything in life, with Ho'oponopono, making right, because you mentioned Ho'oponopono to me last night. And the thing is, by taking responsibility for ourselves, we're putting ourselves at the center of our world, which makes us a sovereign being. You know, we're taking responsible, you know, being responsible for our own stuff. And only then are we able to really serve humanity and be the change we want to see in the world. We're putting our energy where it needs to go, and that's straight into center. After
Getting
that,
your own house in order. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, very good. And thanks for bringing it up, Erica. That's wonderful. We have, yeah, I mean, you mentioned some awful outcomes for people there. It turns out that tractor accidents are quite a thing here in Portugal. And don't forget, Aoife Brewster, she helps with that rural first aid stuff, which could be quite interesting, or not interesting, but quite useful, invaluable, really, in this sort of situation with the tractor accident. Sorry to hear about that, by Randy. But obviously, yeah, agricultural machinery can be the source of some tragedy for people. Pete deals with it by filling his tractor tires with water and deflating them. I didn't even do that. Honestly, as our trees are so low, we can't have a roll bar. It's the scariest thing ever. Tractor tires filled with water. I guess that makes them even heavier as well, doesn't it? A bit of ballast in there. Antonio, thank you so much for your spring picture of Lisbon there, and thank you to Paul for your extra couple of pictures of San Martino de Porto. We're talking about death and dying, and of course with that comes renewal, and what better way of summing that up than the beautiful blossom in Lisbon. It's all connected, of course, and that flies on my forehead. See if I can get it. I may have done that instead, and I may have a red mark on my forehead in just a moment as well. Ho'oponopono. What is that? I mean, I know there are the 4 blessings, if you like. What's the background of Ho'oponopono?
Ho'oponopono, all background, history. So we're going to trip off across the waters to Hawaii. And in Hawaii, many moons ago, they still practice it today, but there's these, and there are still kahunas around. A kahuna is a shaman, but a Hawaiian shaman. And a Hawaiian shaman brought in the Ho'oponopono. Ho is to make, Ponopono is right. Yeah. So ho'o, to make, pono, right, pono, right. So when you ho'oponopono, you bring balance. You're making right. You're bringing balance to a situation. You're reconciling. So the Kahuna used to use this ho'oponopono to bring together people and tribes who had got issues. You know, people had maybe had a falling out. People had that resistance, inner resistance, and they were off balance. And by coming together and using the Ho'oponopono, they were able to sit and listen, and they were able to discuss, and they were able to then return themselves to balance and reconciliate all sorts of issues and come back into peace. So the Ho'oponopono traditionally has been used to bring people together. Now, when you look at the more modern day Ho'oponopono, what you'll find is it's called Sith Ho'oponopono, which is self-identity through Ho'oponopono. Sith helps us recognize that we are the center of our world. We must take responsibility for ourselves. In Ho'oponopono, we take 100% responsibility for everything in our lives. We come back to center and we look at the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you. So if you don't like prayers and the word prayer doesn't resonate with you, it's affirmations. So it's the energy of our language. We're putting our energy into I love you, and we're not talking to you, an outside thing, we're talking to ourselves. So really it's I love me. You know, it's your big self telling your little self I love you, you know, and you say I'm sorry, and it's like it's okay. So you come into balance, you bring in right, you're bringing yourself back into balance by really just having a conversation and hitting yourself energetically and even on a subconscious level, because you're able to bring yourself back by saying I love you, you know, I'm sorry for the things that I've done that, you know, I wasn't really fully conscious of what I did at the time, you know, please forgive me. And it's realizing that, you know, it wasn't your fault. You were working, you know, no one makes mistakes on purpose, do they? We always come from the best place we can at the time, using the information we have available to us. So it's like, I'm sorry I got it wrong, but do you know what? It wasn't my fault, but I'm taking 100% responsibility for where I'm at right now, with the knowledge, with the level of awareness that I have in this moment. I love myself. I love myself anyway. And I'm so grateful that I've brought myself, and this has come into my awareness, so I can clean on it, so I can make right again and bring back balance into my life. So that is what the Ho'oponopono is. It's what it's about. It's what it does for us, not just us as ourselves, as we clean. So as we bring our lives into balance, everything else outside us so as we bring our inner world into balance, our outer world drops back into balance too. We start being much more responsible, responding to situations instead of reacting. These things they really do make a difference. They really do. It's amazing what happens, you know. It's amazing what happens when we start practicing the Ho'oponopono.
And it's so simple, isn't it? I mean, four affirmations or saying four things. I'm not sure how well the translation's working here, but I found it in Portuguese. I'm sorry, forgive me, I love you, and thank you. I mean, just saying that and feeling it is very profound, isn't it? Not necessarily because of the positive sort of projection or sense of that, but also what might come up when you say it. what blockages might be present in saying it, because that's as interesting as the what might be seen as the positive side of it, right?
When you get to a mirror and you say to yourself, I love you, like, how many people can really do that? It takes a lot of courage to stand in a mirror and look at yourself in the eye and say, I love you. You know, it takes a lot of work. For forgiveness is such a thing. It's how many grudges, how many stories do we tell ourselves? What's our belief system? You know, what is the BS that we're feeding ourselves, and the narrative that's feeding our undercurrent, our undertone? What are we putting out into the world energetically? What are we attracting into our life? Because we've got grudges and things like that, because we're being so judgmental. Now, the Ho'oponopono helps us to drop our judgments.
Yeah.
And it helps us realize that the problems and the solutions are here.
Yeah.
And by staying here and honoring our truth, we're able to, you know, serve humanity as a whole and do much more, you know, in service to humanity. It's just amazing what we can do through getting to a level of just self-acceptance, you know. Self-accept the bit where we're going to get to the whiteboard is clean, or we've cleaned all our shadow, you know, so we've challenged ourselves on every level that we become enlightened.
Yeah, amazing. Very beautiful. Thank you for that. And thank you for the prompt that got me asking you about it, which will lead us nicely into finding your flow. Before we go there, there was a little bit more on the advanced directive, which is very useful. Thank you for bringing it up, Erica. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing that with us. Antonio F, adding to this, you can notarize it or sign it on one of the Rentev offices. Not sure what they are, but thank you for that. If I'm sure if you look that up, you'll find out exactly what that means from Antonio. And the SNS directive is cool, because when the advanced directive is accessed, your POA person is pinged as well. How about that? What an amazing service. Squire of the Shire's in. Morning, Squire. How are you? And thanks for this topic, said Erica. By the way, so necessary, yet we tend to hide our eyes. Not me and McGowan every month here on the Good Morning Portugal show. We put it on the table, and if people want to talk about it, we can, of course. And also in the ongoing, anytime in the group on Facebook, Sharon Care Portugal. Forgot to mention, says Paul, whose birthday is today. Hope you're having a great day, Paul. Parked outside the Storytellers Hotel, and a guy offered me money to move so he could park outside the hotel. Now, that's what you call a posh hotel. I did not take his money yet. You didn't. As I understand it, Ho'oponopono can be used and is used for healing in relationship with others. Absolutely. And self-forgiveness is a hurdle to overcome on the road to making amends with others without the expectation of being forgiven by people we have harmed. That's very beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful truth indeed. And thanks to Erica. And Owen is here. Morning, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for being here, Owen. How are you doing? I was muting you there for a moment. The feedback coming through. But over to you then on finding your flow. Procrastination seems to be coming up for a few people. Is that because it's springtime? We know we want to do things, but
no. Procrastination is this habit. It's we forget how important we are, and we lack motivation because we forget to value ourselves. We forget how important we are. We as people, we tend to live in codependencies, all sorts of codependencies. We lack direction, we lack focus. We're so busy doing instead of being that we forget to put ourselves first because we're so busy looking after everyone else. Now, what happens is when we try and find our flow, when we want to become sovereign beings, when we take responsibility for ourselves, we're able to bring ourselves back to our center. Yeah, so it's really about coming into ourselves and grounding in our core values, and that's what we start off with in the Finding Your Flow course. It's bringing yourself in, because your head is everywhere, because that's the way we've been conditioned in society, even schooling. You know, we start off in primary school and it's what are we doing next? You know, it's not what's going on in this moment, it's not what's important to you, it's what's important to a bigger picture. When we come back to ourselves, a lot of things that we're doing, we're not even happy with. Do you know what I mean? It's just like we're doing things for other people. We're doing things because we feel like we have a duty to. We're not taking responsibility for ourselves. We're taking on other people's responsibilities. We're screwing ourselves over. We're being so cruel. We don't know where we're going because we forgot who we were. We've really got to come back to who we are. How do we do that without getting in our own way? The ego's been here, part of us, and it's a strong part of us that's meant to protect us. It's meant to keep us safe. We're running on autopilot. At least 85, 90% of the day, we're doing things without a thought. We're not putting ourselves into things. We're not consciously walking through our day. We're having to take time out to be conscious. It's so important when we come into what matters at our core, come into our center, dropping into our center, finding out the 3 things that are really most important to us and living our lives with those at the center. When we do that, everything else starts having to align with our core values. Yeah, so what we're doing in our day makes a difference. How we do it makes a difference. But does it align with our truth? Does it align with where we're supposed to go, with our greatest purpose for being alive on this planet? And that's being true to ourselves. You know, it's not being true to someone else and doing it their way. It's doing it our way. And we can only do that through getting past our ego and finding our super conscious, tuning in to our true self or authentic self, our sovereign self. We do that through.
How do we know it's not ego? What's the process?
On the course, I teach that. And if I tell you how to do it now, it'd take us about 20 minutes. But what would happen is you wouldn't want to do the course, and the course gives you more to it. The course can give you way more than I can just right now. It brings you in, it teaches you a trick of how to bypass your ego. It teaches you what your ego is. It tells you how important your ego may be, but for certain things, we do get in our way. So it teaches us how to find our true core values. It then works on the resistance that we feel when we try and go against our ego, and helps us work out what's true. And it takes us through a whole 8 weeks of learning. And each week a new lesson comes in, and you've got journeys, shamanic journeys, you've got meditations, you've got loads of opportunities to try different things like the Ho'oponopono, and everything's got many different tools for your toolbox that teach you how to bring yourself back, to counteract any resistance you feel, and how to live your true authentic life. We've got yoga nidras in there as well, so how to come back to yourself and find your direction, your purpose, your balance. It's all in that course. So when we're procrastinating, we don't know where we're going. When we bring ourselves into our core values, we know that there's a time for contemplating and seeing, is this right? Is this in alignment with my truth? And we're able to drop the things that are too heavy, that we don't need to carry, and let go of those things and bring back into our life things that really matter, and start living a life that matters, a living life for us, which will be guaranteed to be the better way of living for everyone connected to us externally. You know, our family, our friends, how we even organize our day. everything. The course teaches everything from time management to how to integrate our inner parent and inner child and bring peace and make right, you know, bring a balance to that.
This is
And
awesome.
it's even got like a lunar ceremony. It's got a full moon ceremony in there. It's got a big, massive forgiveness ceremony at the end. It really is an interesting course that brings you into alignment with your truth.
Right.
And
There's
it does it.
the link for it. I think we've only got you for about 10 minutes or less. So there are a few things I want to ask you about it.
Yeah,
And
sure.
also some other comments that are coming in. I'm going to mute you up again because I'm hearing myself come back through in a bit of a rumble, but we'll manage that. And also, yeah, the continued conversation about the advanced directive. To find it, just search for Testamento Vital on SS. Thank you very much for that. James is saying procrastination is often, if not always, about fear. If I won't do it right, people will think I'm stupid. If I don't know how, if I can't work it out. And it's so interesting, isn't it, that procrastination often, with so many things in society and the world we live in, it's not seen as a contextual thing. It's seen as like yet another failing of the individual and another opportunity for self-judgment, when in fact, I think it's often a contextual thing. And you can understand why people don't want to get started if they're working under the weight of all the things Em's talking about, which is other people's expectations and society's expectations, and not getting around to, for example, moving to Portugal. Life is short, and sadly even shorter for some. Stop thinking about it. Coming to Portugal, do it now and enjoy your life. I think that's for anyone who's procrastinating about moving to Portugal. But on the other side, on the shadow side, on the dark side of that, what's really going on for that person? And I think the course is an opportunity for people to really take a deep look, as well as having a good talking to, like Paul's doing there. Procrastination with getting our end of life directives managed is almost always caused by fear of our mortality. Thank you for that. And we've also got Pete's end of life wishes. Oh, and just a quick bon dia from Pam before I run out to work. Thanks for popping in, Pam. Really enjoyed that. I call it reflection, says Math Moores. Good morning to you, Math. Thank you for joining us as well. Wise words, Mr. Host. Well, thank you very much indeed for that. There was something about Pete's last wishes, which, although I think he might mean them as a joke, if they're not a joke, people will think they are a joke if you don't immortalize them on a living will, which was something to do. Oh, here we go. You want to be plasticized and mounted. Surely just holding hands would do, Peter. I want to be plasticized and mounted so I can continue to irritate Diane from beyond the grave. And can I hire Nigerian mourners to wail for me for a month or so? You see, that's a really good example of, if that's what you really want, you're going to have to write that down, Pete, because no one's going to believe it when Diane tries to explain that. They'll be thinking, Diane's getting the last laugh there, plasticizing Pete. It's not what he wanted, but we heard him saying it on the show that morning. Fantastic. So thank you very much. Let's unmute you again. This thing about procrastination, it is just another opportunity for self-judgment if we take it that way, isn't it, Em?
It can be. The mind is such a beautiful and complex and exciting place to be in. Most people spend a lot of time in there, and the thing is, it depends where we're at and what our belief system is. Depending on what we believe, our undercurrent, it'll keep us either in it could keep us in self-judgment. It can cause a depression. We might be so scared, when we think about things and we don't have a purpose or direction, and we're insecure in ourselves, we're not able to honor our truth, so we keep thinking, and we think these things but we don't express them. That depression, that causes a depression of our feelings, our emotions, and causes actual depression. It manifests into physical disease. So fear is something that, when we are scared of anything in life, whether it's dying, public speaking, or anything at all, sometimes just giving that fear a little space, finding that someone to talk to, finding a way of expressing yourself in a healthy way, that will help you then let go. You won't have to procrastinate then, because you've allowed it space. When you give something space, it changes, it transforms. It won't stay as fear anymore. You know, when you can really sit with fear, you're entering your fear zone, which is just outside of your comfort zone. The other side of your fear zone is a thing called your growth zone. You know, I've got a picture of it somewhere. There's a picture in the course. I talk about this in the course. So we go through our basic like comfort zone to our fear zone. We get the courage to get through our fears and face our fears. We're entering our growth zone, and the other side of our growth zone is reaching our highest potential. Like, who could you be? Like, you're great now, but you weren't who you were yesterday. You weren't who you were. Look how much you've grown since the day you were born. Look how many things you know, and you can continue to grow and evolve. And as you do so, stretching out that growth zone into your own just amazing version of you. And you do that pushing through those fears. And it's not so scary once you actually sit with them, especially if you can sit with someone like myself who can help guide you through those shadows, the shadow work.
Very good. Loving this. And I think you made a very interesting point just now. Sorry, let me just mute you up again to get rid of that rumble. It seemed to be along the lines that Owen sent me a picture this morning. If the grocery store has a section for health food, then what is in the rest of the shop? It's a bit like when politicians have peace talks, isn't it? You would think that the people in charge of our destiny in some ways might be having peace talks, or you know, their whole world would be about peace rather than occasionally having to have peace talks. And I think you're making the point that a bit like, you know, if we're talking about mindfulness, that kind of says something about the world we live in, that we have to purposefully do the natural thing as a kind of abnormal thing. You know, the normal world doesn't make allowance for what we really are or what we truly want to be. We have to push against the tide for that to happen. And it strikes me that, you know, we are perhaps possibly at epidemic proportions with that, given that you have to go on a retreat or make a special effort to be completely naturally human. I mean, would you agree with that assessment?
What you'll find is our brains are hardwired. We're conditioned to think a certain way and act a certain way. When we retrain our brain, which is what I help do through the course, what I help do in one-to-one sessions, we drop our BS. The BS is what keeps us trapped. It's the BS, the bullshit, the belief system that keeps us trapped in a certain state of mind. When we're able to get free of our belief systems and find new ones and grow into our growth zone, we're able to just see the world differently. We stop being so caught up in world of phenomena thinking. You start thinking for yourself. You know, my course isn't about telling you how to think. It's teaching you how to think for yourself. What I help people do isn't tell you how to be. It's I help you find your way of being. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to heal you. There's no healers on this planet that can heal you. You heal yourself. It's about you. The book starts and stops with you. All true people, healers do is guide you to yourself so you can find your own truth and your own way of living. You know, we don't have to subscribe to what's put out there. We don't have to subscribe to that. We can find a new way that's more in alignment with what's our truth, you know, our true nature. That's what's important, honouring that.
Well, and thank you for doing that. Thank you for your contribution to that, just generally and also specifically in this course here. A couple more comments before you go, and thank you for being here this morning, Em. You always bring something different and enlightening to us. The modern world is full of humans doing now as opposed to our natural state of humans being. What would that be like? The reason I moved here is to take a slower pace of life, or slower pace to life, says Math Moores, to be more mindful of what I am doing and to reflect more untethered from the mania. Look at this, the mania of high-paced and busy life in Brighton, UK. And it can so easily happen. This can sneak up on us, and before we know it, years have passed. So well done for acting on that, Math. Final words to you. You probably have to go. Em, so what's your concluding thought this morning and your invitation?
Find yourself. The greatest gift you can gift to yourself and everyone else that you know and don't know is to find your you. Like, it absolutely is. No matter what you do, everything, like, no matter how bad things are, and we know that things get pretty damn bad, and we know that life can feel so stuck and hopeless, and the challenges and things that we can face, but outside of that fear zone, and that procrastination is our growth zone. We find our truth when we're in our growth zone, and we can grow with that, and we can evolve, and we can change the world. But it starts by taking responsibility and getting your own house in order. So whatever you do, getting in line with your truth, please, and let's make this world a awesome, more awesome place to be in, because I mean, it's already awesome, but yeah, just think how beautiful the world could be if we're all actually in alignment with our highest truth and not our ego.
Very good. Thank you so much for being here, Em. Have a great day. We'll see you again next month. Ciao, ciao. And I'll make sure people get a chance to access that link again. Take care. Bye for now. Besinos, abrazos. There she goes. Mamabear McGowan and Finding Your Flow. There's the course there. Let's put the link to it up on the screen. What a fantastic invitation that is. Whether you do that with Em or not, what a fabulous world that would be, that I think James is also alluding to here. Many of the Americans I've met came here to slow down and yet have brought the habit of constantly being busy with them. You see, it's so ingrained, isn't it? And the context we live in is so encouraging of that as well, to be fair to those people. But I totally hear you on that. And it's not just Americans, is it? It is the modern way of life. And it makes makes me wonder, what is it we're hiding from? What would happen? What is it people fear? I know when I've taught meditation in groups, people have actually thought they were going to die if they stopped thinking for a minute. I've had people feel physically ill with the thought of just stopping thinking, fearing that some terrible fate would befall that particular person. Is quite interesting to bear witness to that. Thank you for that, James. Thank you, Antonio, for the encouragement to hit the like button. Remember what Jackie said earlier on, if you hit the like button, it does make the sun come out. That might need fact checking. In fact, fact check it now. Hit the like button and see if the light comes out in your own experience. Not if the light comes out, if the sun comes out. Same thing, really. Oh, hold on a minute. Live insecticide on the show. Did I get him? Or does he keep going through that hole in the barrel ruler? Anyway, I will keep trying. Now, we were bearing witness to how beautiful the world is, weren't we? And how awesome it could be, how even more awesome it could be with certain adjustments to our consciousness, perhaps. I think Em was saying there. Here's some other ways of seeing the world, the beauty that it is. Thank you, Owen, as well as sending me that other image this morning. I noticed that I missed one from a few days ago. This, I think, is a swallow. Still can't tell the difference myself between a house martin, a swallow, and a swift. Thank you so much, Owen, for that this morning. Beautiful swallow, a beautiful warm breeze over the Serra da Estrela Natural Park was what you described when you were sharing that photograph with me. And birthday boy Paul Richard sent us this picture, of course, and also took some others while he was here on the Silver Coast. There's the looking back the other way through the tunnel out to the Atlantic there. Thank you so much, Paul, for these. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, very rugged and rocky. The wonderful contrast that you can experience here in San Martino de Porto. The beautiful, gentle bay where I like to go swimming, and then some scary Atlantic action. I think that used to be a beach as well. Many decades ago, people would go and see the Atlantic and have a little bit of a dip there too. It's a bit difficult, but inaccessible right now, but certainly a wonderful place to go and take in the awesomeness of the Atlantic. Thank you, Owen. Thank you very much to you, Paul, and also to you again, Antonio, for the jacaranda blossom. And look at that beautiful spring day in Lisbon that you seem to be having this morning. Any more images, pictures, videos? 913-590-303. That is the studio mailbag, basically. 913-590-303. We didn't get any more guesses as to who this was in the chemically adjusted skies above Portugal recently. And actually, do you know what? When I suggested that, is that Trump in the skies above Portugal? It's as though Google delisted it. It didn't get any clicks at all. Maybe you can't even mention his name now in the Silicon Valley. I don't know what's going on there. Or maybe it was just a rubbish post. Could be that. I don't want to get all conspiratorial about it, do I? Plenty of other opportunities for doing that. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these news headlines as well. IMA and this suggestion of turbocharging your application with some cash. But before we do, another comment from James. The age-old existential dilemma. If I am no longer this, what will I be? Will I cease being? Interesting, isn't it? And yeah, it's understandable. We have to give ourselves and each other compassion, don't we, around this type of transformation. And one more time then, the Ho'oponopono gift, poem, mantra, saying, what is it? I am sorry. Please forgive me. I love you and thank you. I mean, just try that and see what a difference it makes to your perception, to your consciousness, to yourself and to those around you. So simple and yet so effective from the big kahunas of Hawaii. Right, okay, I'm going to go to my first news article that I want to take a look at this morning, and that will be the Portugal News. And to start with the homepage, just have a general look at what they've got over there at the Portugal News, bringing it onto the screen for you now. And let's taking James's comment off the screen so we can see that fully. And there we have it. More visa requirements. Oh, dear. Did I just swallow that fly there? More visa requirements being brought in. What are the new housing measures for Portugal? Certainly want to have a look at those two this morning. But let's go to... there's the headlines on there over on the right. I'm charging €400. Sorry for coughing all over you just then. To speed up residency applications. Let's get right up to date with that. And immigrants angry about unfair IMA fee. What's happening? The decision by the Agency for Integration, Migrations and Asylum, IMA, to request advance payment of scheduling costs to complete regularization processes is causing anger among immigrants who contest the unilateral measure. Let's find out more. There is no right. €400 is a lot of money, it says Turkish Levin, one of the many immigrants who gathered today at the institution's headquarters in Lisbon to try to ask for clarification on the change in the rules for paying scheduling costs. So this isn't the process. This is just you're paying to get into the system by the sound of it. According to electronic messages sent on Wednesday night to immigrants with expressions of interest or waiting to schedule a meeting to complete their processes or as part of family reunification, IMA demands advance payment of the cost. So hold on a minute. Is it the cost of the process or is it just to get an appointment? For spouses of immigrants in a regular situation, the cost is €33. For citizens of the Community of Portuguese-speaking countries, CPLP, the cost is €56.88. Interesting amounts. And for the rest, the total is 397.90 centimos, payable in a few days. We received 1,763 emails about this. Lawyer Catarina Zuccaro, a specialist in these processes, told Lusa, who is critical of the decision. People have been waiting for years, and now they are asking to pay in advance for something they didn't have. This is worrying. Everyone is super scared because they are afraid of losing everything. A lifetime of waiting for a visa, and those who live on a minimum wage have great difficulty paying €400 at once, said the lawyer, who accuses IMA of solving their problems and not those of immigrants. According to the lawyers, this measure will allow IMA to sift who actually remains in Portugal after submitting an expression of interest. I understand there are a lot of people in the system, and this will allow us to select who is still in Portugal, but it is unfair. There are other ways, considered the lawyer. Russian Valeria Oh, so, okay. So we had, that wasn't that person's name, Turkish Levin. I think that Levin is Turkish and Valeria is Russian, possibly here. Russian Valeria, who was waiting her turn in line this afternoon at IMA headquarters, is one of those cases of despair of those who don't know how they will pay the cost of the process. I couldn't get a job. I can't get the money out of Russia because of the sanctions. I will have to choose between eating and paying, she said. My goodness. The leader of the Bangladeshi community in Lisbon, Rana Taslim Udin, accuses the Portuguese authorities of changing the rules without taking into account the difficulties of those who are here and want to live here. Suddenly, a person receives this request for a very high value without any consultation with the immigrant associations, highlighted the Bengali leader, who is also concerned about the negative signal that is given to those who also work so hard for the Portuguese economy. Well, yes, he's got a point there. You have to pay. I pay. Scrolling down a bit to where it says scam. I just want to make sure I'm not being scammed, said somebody else. I already owe a lot of people for getting here, he said, without clarifying how he made the trip to Lisbon. Portugal is the country where I want to live in an organized place without war, he explained. My goodness, 400 euros is a lot of money and people have nothing. They live on the street and now they want 400 euros, he asks. Incredible. Right, okay, so no comments on there to look at. And let's return to the homepage and have a look then at this other IMA-related news piece. More visa requirements being brought in as well. They're reporting an hour ago on the Portugal News. According to the Secretary of State for Portuguese Communities, José Cesario, the entry into Portugal of CPLP immigrants will become more demanding. This is the former colonies, of course, and the Portuguese-speaking countries around the world. Regarding the visa for looking for work, the person will have to demonstrate that they have the conditions to subsist in Portugal while they are looking for work, he said, following the changes to the foreigners law, which came out, that's capitalized, so there must be a piece of legislation called the Foreigners Law, which came into force on October the 30th, 2022. Citizens of the Community of Portuguese-Speaking Countries, the CPLP, were granted simplified visas, being exempt from proof of means of subsistence. In this case, they would have to present a term of responsibility from a Portuguese or foreigner residing in Portugal that guarantees their subsistence and accommodation. This proof will be necessary again, and the government has already given guidance in this regard. So that's relating to CPLP as they're coming into the country. That's changing. The new government, then, it would appear, are putting their foot down. And of course, we have to strike some sort of balance, don't we? I guess the infrastructural requirements of the country to make sure there aren't lots of people here putting additional pressure on the society who may be penniless and living in the streets, hoping to find a home in Portugal. And of course, those people making themselves a little bit more secure before they arrive here. It is a balancing act that I guess any country is facing. Another chic peak sent. Thank you very much. Chick pick. Oh, I see what you did there, Owen. Thank you very much for that. And let's stay with the Portugal news and we'll come back. We'll finish on your lovely image, I think, this morning, Owen. So thank you very much for that. Back to the main homepage of the Portugal news. Drought returning to Portugal. What? After all that rain we had? What are the new housing measures for Portugal? So I want to add to this what Stephen's been saying about this subject and alluded to yesterday. Again, the new government sweeping in with some new measures. Just over a month after taking office, the new government has presented its housing strategy for the country. So let's take a look at this. It will implement 30 measures to face the crisis and has committed. Do you remember? Mais Habitation was the last government's effort to do something about this. The new government is here with 30 measures and has committed to deadlines ranging from 10 days to 3 months. With the Build Portugal plan, Luis Montenegro's executive intends to encourage the supply of housing, promote public housing, restore trust to all stakeholders, promote youth housing, and ensure housing accessibility. And yes, Stephen said a few things about this, and he's also got an updated item, a little list of his responses to it, which I think I'll pop up. I'll pop this link and his response to it in the Portugal Club for those interested. Plans for the new government include moving forward with measures such as the unlocking of 25,000 homes that are part of the Recovery and Resilience Plan, the PRR, the change in the soil law, which will allow the use of rustic land for sustainable housing solutions, housing at controlled costs, and the provision of houses for teachers, security forces, agricultural and industrial workers, and tourism sector workers. Very good. There is also good news for young property buyers, as the new strategy for housing provides, for example, exemption from IMT and stamp tax for young people up to the age of 35 on properties up to 316,000 euros. How do they come up with these numbers? A value corresponding to the fourth step, of the IMT. When presenting the programme, the Prime Minister assured that the new housing strategy aims to restore the confidence of the Portuguese, contrary to the programme of the previous socialist government, the one I just mentioned, which was still in its infancy and had already been condemned to failure. Despite recognising that there are well-designed measures in the controversial Mais Habitação and that they are intended to continue, Montenegro is moving forward with the repeal of forced leasing, very good, as well as the extraordinary contribution on local accommodation. So maybe more changes and U-turns on AL then. For the leader of the AD government, transformation in the housing area requires a commitment from everyone. He guaranteed that he would speak with all parliamentary groups, highlighting at the same time the role of municipalities, associations and cooperatives in implementing this new strategy. Love that about Portugal, not just what goes on in government, but talking to the municipalities, the local government as well as the third sector, I think it's fair to call them that, of associations and cooperatives around the country. In the Build Portugal programme, the new government says that little or nothing has been done in the last 20 years to resolve the housing supply crisis. That has, in quotes, fueled a worrying division in our society, turning tenants against landlords and tourism against cities. Well, that's a good observation. The AD executive recognises that this is a generational challenge, again in quotes, that can not only be resolved in the short term, but that requires an immediate response. To this end, he prepared a new housing strategy that includes 30 measures spread across 6 areas of activity. And there they are. I don't think we need to go into all of those now, but the headings of those are encouraging the offer, promoting public housing, return confidence in leasing, legislative simplification, and promote young housing, as well as ensuring accessibility to housing as well. Any comments there? I do like a comment on the Portugal news. Nothing yet, but we can see there in related news, government to revoke housing measures, and that will be to do with the AL situation that was upsetting for many people previously. So interesting times then. Government are putting their foot down with a firm hand and I guess laying out their plans in quite the assertive way. Hello from Leela. Leela's joined us in the chat this morning. Any pictures or videos, do send them through please on 913-590-303. Jackie has a response to what I've just read. Does the change mean somebody could buy rustico land and put on off-grid dwellings there with a business? I think it's possible. It seems to be moving in that direction, and I would recommend, yes, have a look at the list of interpretations that Stephen has come up with, if you will, please, Jackie. And as I said, I'll put those up there on the Portugal Club as well. A link from this article and Stephen's responses as well. We'll have Bobby O'Reilly joining us on Friday, fingers crossed, and I suspect he'll have one or two things to say about that as well when he joins us with Coach Turner on the screen on Friday, with a bit of a roundup on how Coach Turner did in Portugal after he's had a little bit of a rest in the next few days, getting back to Blighty. Okay, what else is there on the Portugal News homepage? Let's have a look. Border control issues, that's all in the last. It's already seems to be sort of heating up, doesn't it, around this whole around the world of visas. So it'll be an interesting discussion we'll be having with Gilda on the Dream Team session this coming Thursday evening. I'm also getting adverts on the Portugal News homepage for plastic surgery. Aren't there non-invasive methods for these big bags under my eyes? Unmissable foodie festivals across Portugal. I like the sound of that, as well as the most iodine riches. Not the most iodine riches, but the most iodine rich beaches in Portugal. Do people choose their beach destination based on the amount of iodine on the beach? I guess some must do, hence that article there. And yeah, we'll come back. We'll finish on that high note of unmissable foodie festivals across Portugal. Always like talking about food, even though it makes us hungry, here on the Good Morning Portugal show. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to share with you, the road to Geneva, because I think we did talk about this briefly with Hugh, didn't we, this time last week when we were in Viziel, and he pointed me in the direction of a group of people who are making their way to Switzerland. So let's bring that onto the screen now, in case you want to join this convoy making its way for sovereignty and pushback against globalism. That's happening towards the end of this month, where they will arrive in Geneva on the 1st of June. Bringing it onto the screen for you now. And all of this sort of material and everything I'm talking about here can be found at roadtogeneva.com, which is a general global initiative. And there is definitely a strong showing of Portuguese interest in this. So that's people getting on the road on the 30th of May, on the Thursday, a freedom celebration on the 31st of May, when they set up a base camp in Geneva. And on Saturday, the 1st of June, join the historic rally, they say, outside the United Nations before we march through Geneva. And their basic beef here, declaring their independence, the 8 billion, with resonances of the 99% there, of course. Rally and march, we are the change. Saturday, the 1st of June in Geneva, we are the people of the world, no longer abiding by the tyrannical rule of unelected global officials. This, of course, whilst many would dismiss simply as a conspiracy theory, the WHO proposal was, I think, thrown out of the UK lawmaking through the upper chamber, I think, of the British Parliament last week. So there's definitely something to it. We have, yes, the people of the world no longer abide by the tyrannical rule of unelected global officials and their vision of the future. We break free from their chains, from our chains. It is time to gather to reclaim our cultural traditions, history, and liberties. We are sovereign beings moving forward together in love, unity, and peace, the sort of thing that Mama Bear was talking about earlier on, albeit from a slightly different angle. Antonio F., this seems very interesting. Is that the march to Geneva, or is it talking about building on rustic land that you're talking about there? Saw something about it, says Antonio, but with some limitations. So there you go. Thank you very much for your help on that, Antonio. Just finally then, on the rally and march, here are the people, just bringing it back to Portugal here. I did have a photograph sent to me of Portuguese folk who'd gathered on the steps of the parliament, but I don't seem to be able to find it. It's a conspiracy, I tell you. No, here it is. I found it now. And this is the Portuguese contingent, I think, who were there petitioning the Portuguese Parliament a couple of weeks ago, I believe, gathering there on the steps of the Portuguese Parliament, and some of them, if not most of them, making their way towards Geneva for the 1st of June there. So well done, you lot. That sounds interesting. We'll probably get a few pictures from them as they process and make their way to Switzerland. Great stuff. Okay, let's go back to those lovely food festivals then that we can enjoy around Portugal. Nothing if not diverse here on the Good Morning Portugal show. And let's have a look then at the Portugal news, where the unmissable foodie festivals were shared with us. And I'm clicking on that now and bringing it onto the screen for you. There you go. Right there now. Unmissable foodie festivals. Disclaimer, it says, this may leave you feeling hungry. We always do this to ourselves, don't we? Particularly at this time of day. Brings you a selection of mouth-watering Portuguese food festivals. That's the Portugal news. Gastronomic festivals are undoubtedly key in celebrating a country's culinary heritage, and Portuguese gastronomy festivals are no different. They offer the opportunity to explore the richness of Portuguese cuisine. So if you're eager to try the best of what Portuguese cuisine has to offer, a food festival might be exactly what your taste buds are in need of. So let's have a look at these. We've got the Feira de Gastronomia. to Villa de Conde. Villa de Conde's Gastronomy Fair is running from the 16th to the 25th of August. Dates for your diary then. This seems like a long time away, but I'm sure it will soon come. 16th to the 25th of August this year, and is where the best of Portuguese cuisine can be found. I bet they all say this, occupying the privileged area of a welcoming garden of around 11,000 square meters right in the city centre of Villa de Conde. The Villa de Conde Gastronomy Fair has restaurants from different gastronomic regions of the country. Okay, so it's a national gathering then, particularly focused in Villa de Conde, with more than 70 stands with sale of a variety of food and wine products. No shortage of traditional bread, cakes, biscuits, and conventual sweets. Those sweets originated by monks and nuns. Artisanal honey, a variety of sausages. Who doesn't like a variety of sausages first thing in the morning? And smoked meats, cheeses, as well as preserves. I will put the link to this. Don't worry, I'll give you the overall link to this collection rather than individual links to each of these festivals. Let us not miss out the Obidos International Chocolate Festival. Had its first edition in 2002, and since then has been held annually in Villa de Óbidos. According to the organization, it aims to promote the local community, offer unique experiences to visitors, and support the region's talented chocolatiers and pastry chefs and of the country, as well as functioning as a showcase that of the best that is done in Portugal and in the world. Sounds good. 2025 date is yet to be announced, but almost always runs in March. Stay tuned. We'll come back to that. The Óbidos Festival of all things good, revolving around chocolate. There is a Festival de Polvo, an octopus festival. Did you see that there are petitions against an octopus farm in Spain? I just noticed that in passing. Ericera's Octopus Festival is on its 9th edition and will be running from the 17th. Not long now, just 3 days away, through to the 26th of May, from the most traditional to the most innovative. Don't miss the opportunity to taste the incredible dishes participating restaurants have prepared in celebration of the delicious octopus, which is one of the most iconic ingredients in Portuguese cuisine. And I think, is that a lagreiro, the traditional style, with a few punch potatoes there and a delicious garlicky drizzle of olive oil on the top. Big chunks of garlic there. I really would eat that right now if it were put in front of me. Chefs on Fire. What? They must have toed and froed with this in the boardroom when thinking, is this a good name or not? Executive producer of Chefs on Fire was asked to cook for his friends at a birthday party. This involved cooking for 60 people in the Alentejo with a kitchen too small to serve that number of people. He ended up building a fire pit where he cooked all of the produce required. This experience led to Gonzalo to question, if he was capable of doing this, what would real renowned chefs do and how would they do it? Very good. Nice idea. It was in this atmosphere of conviviality and complicity around the fire that the authentic experience that we know today as Chefs on Fire, I see what they did there, was born. A celebration of good food, good music, and good wine. Aside from the delicious food, Chefs on Fire prides itself on sustainability with practices such as consumed firewood replantation system, what's that, burying the ashes, zero plastic policy, and fighting food waste by donating surplus food to ReFood. Well done. Chefs on Fire pop-up will take place in Aveiro on the 19th, 20th, and 21st of July. Yes, in Aveiro, Parque Infante de Dom Pedro, and you'll be able to get tickets online from the link that I'll put into the chat before we go this morning. We have a Festival Nacional de Gastronomia in Santarém as well. Sardines there, of course. The Festival de Sardinia. That one in Portimao. Once again in Portimao, it will be celebrating the principal icon in its gastronomy, the sardine. Sardine Festival will take place from the 30th of July to the 4th of August. Good time to be in Portimao for that. The Festival do Morisco, now you're talking. I like the sound of this one. And that will run from the 10th to the 14th of August at the Jardim Pescador Olhanense, overlooking the beautiful Ria Formosa. Oh my goodness, my mouth is literally watering at the sound of that. Speaking of a great lineup, this year is no different, with Kalema talking to the stage on the 10th of August. Not sure who that is. Anamura will be there. Plutonico, Diogo Pissarra, and the Clothing Festival That'll be a Manino on the 14th of August. Daily tickets, €10. Details of that, as well as the Lagos Street Food Festival, the Festival do Caldo do Peja as well in the Açores, will all be in the chat in about 10 seconds time as I cut and paste over there. We got to go now. We agree. We're coming with you, Antonio. Ate Amanya have to go. Us too. Rustic land, Carl, says Jackie. I'm too chilled to go marching anywhere, and it would take up far too much cake and tea time. That's true. So not going to Geneva, going to a field near you in Portugal. Stick around just for a moment at the end of the show, and I'll share another chick pick from Owen. And I think maybe a couple of others that have come in between now and when we started this morning at 8:30. Thank you to Em. Thank you to you. Happy birthday, Paul Richards. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Take care and bye for now. Let's go for coffee.